Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode where we're going to be talking about our first half awards as we get closer and closer to the All-Star break. We've had a very fun and eventful 2023, and me and Blake here for TWSN, we're going to talk about some of our first half awards. So, Blake, you want to start off with probably the biggest award, MVP?
I think in almost any other, I don't want to say year because Ohtani has been doing crazy things for years. In any other time, Ronald Acuna probably runs away with this award. He's been, pretty phenomenal for the Braves. They're the best team in baseball probably right now. But I think the stuff Ohtani is doing, I don't know how you can give it to anybody else. He is, got over 1,000 OPS while also having a sub 3.3 ERA. The stuff he's doing for that Angels team is stuff that we haven't seen since ever. Babe Ruth, maybe. I don't, obviously we weren't around back then. But at least since him, I mean, it's phenomenal to watch him play.
Yeah, so I have the same pick. I got Ohtani, and just one of the major things is that not only, we've seen it like during his MVP year, last year, rookie year, that he's hitting home runs at a rate that's keeping up with the rest of the league. But this year he's doing what Judge did last year, 31 home runs as we get closer and closer to that All-Star break. And at this time, Judge, I'm pretty sure, was around 29. It's as a Yankee fan, it's tough to think that Ohtani will pass him, but you never know. Judge, right after the All-Star break, he has some of the craziest months of all time. But looking at the stats right now, Ohtani, if he just continues his pace, it's so tough being a pitcher and a hitter that injuries just come aplenty. That we already saw he got a blister the other day in his start against the Padres. That anything could happen for him, and he's definitely more prone for injuries as he does both sides of the ball, and he's playing every day. So it's crazy what he does. But at 31 home runs at the All-Star break, he could easily he could pass Judge for that AL home run lead in just 1 year after. It shows the magnitude of what Ohtani's doing that we've never seen.
And I don't think we should overlook, just because of Ohtani, the crazy numbers Acuna's putting up. He's on pace for 40 and 70 this year.
Yes.
Like, that's insane.
Yeah, I know. Just stealing that many bases while also hitting a home run almost every night and driving in runs. He's nice. It's nice to be on a Braves team where he's got runners on base practically every time he comes up. As a leadoff hitter or top three in the lineup hitter, he's just having that many RBIs and the amount of home runs he hits is just crazy. And if a guy like Ohtani who hit and pitched at the same time didn't exist, it would 100% be Acuna. And that's right now, that's definitely the picks for the AL and NL MVPs. So
absolutely,
right here we're just picking one, and I think it's definitely got to be Ohtani. So then we'll move over to the other side of the ball, and we'll go to Cy Young. So for me, I'm gonna have to pick Nathan Eovaldi. Definitely a surprise this season, as he's had plenty of good years with the Red Sox. He started his career with the Yankees, and just this year has gone off for the Texas Rangers as he has a 2.83 ERA. Definitely no one saw that. He's pitched the most innings in the entire league, as he has 117 and 2/3, and he has 2 complete games, combining that with 109 Ks. So yeah, that's my pick. And Eovaldi has just been unhittable, and that's just helped the Rangers be one of the best teams in the league so far.
Eovaldi's been fantastic, especially stepping up with the injuries they've had. DeGrom going down. They needed somebody to step up at the top of that rotation. He's done fantastic. There were a lot of options for Cy Young that I thought that all had good cases. You could even make a case if you really wanted to for Ohtani with the strikeout numbers he's putting in. But I went somebody probably a little less thought about, a little not quite as big a name, with what Sonny Gray's doing in Minnesota. He's having a phenomenal year there. 2.50 ERA, 2.84 FIP, which just shows, it's not that he's getting lucky. He is just pitching great for them. And the Twins are, I don't want to say a disappointment because they're in first place, but they're not a great team. They've been hovering around 500 all season. They've had some injuries on offense and stuff like that. But the way Sonny Gray has kind of kept up his great play after a rough last year in Cincinnati 2 years ago, they traded him to Minnesota. He has been phenomenal for them this year. And I like to give a guy like that, a little credit when maybe we didn't expect him to be this good coming into the year.
Yeah, he started off the year as one of the best pitchers. As a guy who had him on my fantasy team, it was just great to see. Like every start he would come up, he'll rack up the innings. Maybe not as many strikeouts as all the rest, but I mean, he had a few that he would rack up the Ks. But has had a bit of iffy starts in the past. His last start was really good, but I mean, just a very consistent and solid first half for Sonny Gray. So it's great to see Evaldi and Sonny Gray, two guys that you've seen how good they can be, but they pulled off a bit and then just completely showed out for 2023. I mean, even though the Twins' record doesn't show it, they do look like they'll probably hold on and win that division unless a late push by the Guardians or, I mean, the White Sox are down there. It's tough to really pick anyone else in the Twins right now, but yeah, those two guys have definitely helped their teams stay atop their division. And now we'll move on. We got rookie of the first half, and I think this one is clear to everyone. There's been a lot of really good rookies, and one of the best rookie classes we've ever seen. But I mean, Corbin Carroll has definitely stood out over everyone. I mean, not only does he have 18 home runs, he's hitting 290. He's got a 924 OPS. He's stolen 24 bases, but he's also starting in his first All-Star game in the outfield. And yeah, Corbin Carroll, he's doing everything for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, kind of like we talked about with Acuna Ohtani. If Acuna wasn't having such a crazy year, Corbin Carroll probably gets legitimate MVP looks with the year he's having in Arizona. He's really put that team on his back at times and really carried that offense. He's been one of the best rookies I can remember watching in a long time. We obviously need to talk about the shoulder from last night.
Sure.
Really awkward looking swing. And we all hope that it's nothing serious. He comes back after the All-Star break and he's fine. Nobody wants to see a player like that hurt. If he misses significant time, there are a lot of very good rookies that could take this award. You got Josh Jung in Texas, who's having a very, very good, especially offensive year. Solid defender, but a good offensive year. You got Yoshida in Boston, which always feels a little weird for me for rookies to be 29.
I know, it's a bit.
But he's been great. He's been everything you could have wanted him to be.
Definitely.
And then you've got, all three hitters for the Reds in Steer, McLean, De La Cruz, and then Andrew Abbott as well, who have all been phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, Abbott. Yeah. You always talk about the big hitters for the Reds, but Abbott, he's been amazing.
Especially in a time where, Green and Lodolo are both hurt. We've had, I think there's 10 pitchers on the IL for the Reds. Yeah. They really needed somebody to come and kind of stabilize them, and he did that.
We'll be able to talk about the Reds in a bit. They'll get an award, so we'll hold that.
Corbin Carroll is the obvious pick here, as long as he is able to finish the season. And he's so much fun to watch. I hope that he's not any kind of serious injury.
Definitely. Yeah, he has that really it's a swing that you don't really see from many, and watching what happened with that injury, it's the second time he left the game with an awkward swing. You just hope that it's not it's a serious thing. And also this All-Star break, and I mean, if he elects not to play due to an injury, maybe that would help him, give him the extra time he needs to return to the Diamondbacks. We'll have to see how serious of an injury that is. But Corbin Carroll, he owned that first half, and definitely will be getting some if he keeps going, definitely will get some MVP votes.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And then we'll move on to the best team of the first half. Definitely a big award, and I'm gonna go with, I think it's obvious as they have the best record in the league, the Braves. So we got a 58-28 record for the Atlanta Braves, and for talking more about the All-Star game, they have a franchise record in 8 All-Stars this year. They lead the league in home runs for a team. They're top 3 in RBIs and average, and they also have some really strong pitching as Strider. He leads the league in Ks, and then Bryce Elder, which is a big surprise this year, he leads the league in ERA. So, I mean, both sides, they got insane hitters and they got some insane pitching. So, I mean, that's the reason why they have the best record in the league. And I think this team is practically unbeatable. Even they could be adding at the deadline as well. So, definitely got to be the Braves.
Yeah, the stuff that offense is doing is incredible. One hitter below a 750 OPS in their starting lineup, and he's at 749. Only 3 below 800, and one of them's Austin Riley. You got to believe he's going to get up over it.
Definitely.
They're just, that offense is scary. The pitching is good. You do worry, not so much for the playoffs because they got Elder Strider and Charlie Morton as their big three. After that, they get a little rocky. But with that offense, I don't think it matters.
It's nice to see some depth. They've had very good depth. I mean, Soroka's coming back from that injury. Like he was so good during that rookie year and just been completely plagued by injury. But he's definitely a good guy you'll have at the back of that rotation. We've also seen AJ Smith-Shawver, rookie that's come up. He's had a couple good starts, got set down. But I mean, with the Braves, you can send guys down as good as that. They're not that type of team that just needs any all hands on deck. They're like, oh, let's give this guy a try. Then we'll let someone else give a try. I mean, they also got like Schuster. They got a lot of guys that have been able to come up and give them innings, give them starts, and by the time a lot of guys are healthy, I mean, they'll be able to have loads of guys to choose from. But that big three is also solidified, and they've all had great years. So
Colby Allard's another name that came up and gave him a couple really good starts. You can tell from watching them that the Reds have really studied what the Braves have done in the way they're running their team right now. They're sending pitchers up, they're sending pitchers down, they're trying to get the innings. I would be remiss in the best team to not talk about the Rays for a minute. The Rays started off the season as the best team in baseball for a large portion of it, and they are also a very, very good team. The Braves have really kind of taken the lead on that lately, but the Rays are fantastic. They've also had some injuries to their pitching. McClanahan's on the 15-day DL. Rossman's on the 60 after pitching well to start the season. But they're another team that always has depth. Anytime they need somebody, we'll call this top 50 prospect up from the minors. Just a great ran organization. I think those are the two best teams in each league. But I think the Braves, if I had to pick just one, I agree. The Braves are the best team in baseball right now.
Yeah, with the Rays, I mean, you would think it's usually the pitching. They always are able to bring these guys who maybe not have good pass or bring up these rookies and to turn them into some of the best pitchers in the league. But I mean, it's been mainly their offense this year.
Yeah,
Randy Rosarena, Yandy Diaz, named a few, Wander Franco. I mean, those guys have just been gone off. And I mean, not until the Braves started kicking in and hitting on a historical pace, the Rays were the ones at the top of all these hitting stats. So yeah, definitely good to talk about them as they cooled off a bit, but definitely give some respect to the Rays name. Then we'll move on to not the best team, but definitely the surprising team. So we have definitely some teams that have come out of nowhere. And my pick, I'm gonna have to go with the Diamondbacks. I mean, they're winning the division NL West, as many thought was the best division coming into the year. I mean, except for the Padres, the Giants and the Dodgers are still doing well, and the fact that the Diamondbacks are at the top and they've been running that division practically the entire year is just crazy. As they're 50-38. So to definitely look at it, like we talked about Carroll, he's gone off for the Diamondbacks, but there's some veterans that have returned as well. Glorio's having a solid year. One guy to definitely talk about is Lourdes Gurriel Jr., as he had some off years with the Blue Jays, got traded to the Diamondbacks, and he's gone off as he's an all-star this year. So I mean, that just shows how good he's been. And then also some more guys to talk about, as Perdomo at shortstop, some really good. I mean, that team and that future they still have one of the best farm systems. The Diamondbacks are good now, and they're going to be good for a while. So you have to get used to them. Yeah,
they have been really good. Christian Walker's had a fantastic year for them. They're at first base. Ketel Marte is going to be Ketel Marte. He's always going to be good. They have been a very, very good team. Zach Gallen is always one of the best, starting pitchers in baseball. Did not expect them to be winning that division at this point, but I got to go with my team, the Cincinnati Reds. Even if you just look back at a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, the Reds were near the bottom in the division. They were talked about with the Cardinals as a team that, just wasn't going to do anything this year, and they have taken off. I think it's something like 20 of their last 24 they've won. And they are doing it mostly with offense. the pitching, and that's something that's been so great to watch, is they're doing it with their two best pitchers on the IL on the 60-day IL. Lodolo and Green have both been out for a while and look to be out till August. Is kind of where the reports are. They're starting Luke Weaver every fifth day. He's got a 7 ERA almost. It's just, since they brought up the rookies, that offense has really taken off. And it's not all Ellie De La Cruz, but the spark that he injected in this team when he got called up can't be overlooked either. He's been phenomenal. But like we talked about with the Rookie of the Year, Spencer Steer, Matt McClain, Abbott, Jonathan India's really started to come back around after a really down last year. And then some of the trade chips they got from guys like Castillo, where people weren't happy. Jake Fraley.
Sure.
Jake Fraley's been great this year. DJ Friedel is, I think he was leading center fielders in multiple categories in the NL. They've been fantastic this year, and they've been one of the most fun teams to watch.
Yeah, it just shows how good that offense has been. I mean, just on every, like I talked about in the video I made, just talking about how the Reds, I feel, could end up in a World Series spot. I mean, not only if you add to that pitching staff, I mean, if the offense continues and the pitching staff is bolstered by maybe some bullpen arms and a couple of good starters, I mean, I don't see why this team can't be one of the better teams that ends up in the playoffs. But I mean, just what Ellie De La Cruz does, is not only, I mean, he's hitting bombs, but like he's just so fast, like stealing bases. And I think that entire team, they're stealing bases, making good plays in the field. Like, not only are they driving in runs, but just doing everything on the right side, like hitting, fielding, stealing bases. I mean, that's just that's a perfect formula to score a lot of runs. And even if your pitcher is going to come out there and give up maybe 5+ runs, they're scoring more than that. They're scoring more than that. So I mean, like if you get a pitcher, if you get some pitchers that lower those earned runs per game, I mean, like how are you going to beat this Reds team?
They and people talk about they played a soft schedule during a lot of their wins, but they took 2 or 3 from the Dodgers, slipped to the Astros. They only beat the Braves once, but all 3 games were 1-run games. They played them
those are all
very
close.
well. They're just a good team at this point, and it's something that people are going to have to get used to.
Yep, definitely. And then we'll go to our final category or award of this video, and it's been the most disappointing team of the first half. And for me, I kind of picked it between 2 teams. I mean, they're very similar, but the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres both actually surprisingly have a 41-46 record, so it's very fitting. Both teams have actually been on a bit of a hot streak, as the Mets swept the Diamondbacks. We just talked about how good they were, but so that's a big sweep for the Mets, as they swept them in Arizona, so that was a big one for them. The Padres just swept the Angels, who have been a pretty hot team recently. Trout went down, and Ohtani had that pitching injury, but still, 2 big last series for both teams. But I mean, if you look at the season in total, very, very disappointing, as the Mets have the highest payroll in the league after giving $40+ million to both Verlander and Scherzer. They got the big bats in the lineup with Alonso. I mean, he's hitting home runs, but it's not doing enough, as Lindor is not doing enough, and I feel like the rest of that lineup, and Nimmo's having a good year, but the rest of that lineup has had very bad first halves. And the Padres, I mean, it's clear to see, I mean, what they did with getting Soto, Tatis is back, Machado, Bogarts. I mean, Bogarts is definitely at a Bogart scale, and how much they give him. A dreadful first half. I mean, solid for the rest of the league, but what the Padres expected out of him, not the best first half. Soto took a while to get good. I mean, he's been very good lately, just like Tatis, who missed that first month and a half due to the suspension. But I mean, those guys are hitting now, but you need that full team, and Machado's definitely not had the best first half. He's had a couple injuries here and there as well, and that pitching staff for the Padres has been weak, and I don't know. I'm very curious to see what both of those teams do with the trade deadline. They definitely do have the firepower to turn it back on, but I mean, they're gonna have to look at it like, is Soto a guy that could be traded? I mean, the Padres with how much they want to pay. I mean, they're already paying Tatis, they're already paying Machado, they're already paying Bogarts, and that pitching staff as well. Are they willing to extend Soto for that much? And if they aren't, there's no point in not trading him now and getting some prospects out of it. So I'm very curious to see what both teams do at the trade deadline, as Scherzer has maybe, as some reports say, that he's willing to elect his trade clause. So that's definitely something to see. But yeah, both of those teams have been very disappointing this year.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for what's going on with either of them. The Mets' leading OPS guy should not be Tommy Pham. It just shouldn't.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got Pete Alonso, you got Brandon Nimmo. They paid Francisco Lindor $300 million. I get Pete Alonso. I mean, Pete Alonso's hitting home runs, but if you take that away, he's hitting 218.
I know. Very average year.
He looks like Joey Gallo out there. His numbers, and that's not what the Mets need from him. I think I'm trying to decide which one I think has a better chance to turn it around.
Yeah.
I think it's the Padres.
Yeah,
I think I believe in the young core more than, the Mets are relying on a 38-year-old Scherzer, a 40-year-old Verlander, and a 36-year-old Carlos Carrasco. I don't know that they're going to get better as the season goes on. Whereas I think the Padres, young guys can do that. They can play bad and then all of a sudden, boom. And as far as disappointing teams, I want to throw an honorable mention out there to the Seattle Mariners. I thought they were going to be better than what they are. Julio Rodriguez has not been great this year. He has really
still got given an all-star, but I feel like that's just the exciting factor, and it's in Seattle.
So.
But I know, but still, yeah, they needed it out of him, and he really has not put it to the table that everyone expected him to.
On the opposite end of the Braves, they have 0 hitters over an 800 OPS. Nobody.
There you go.
It's
that striking out like crazy.
Yes.
Everyone in that lineup, like all those top guys, like Julio, Suarez, like Ty France, those guys are they're all just in that top. If you go look up top 10 strikeout players in the league, they're all just in those different little spots right there. Like they're just striking out at a very alarming rate, and strikeouts are not going to do anything for you.
No, and it's disappointing because their pitching staff has been very good. Yeah. George Kirby has been fantastic. Logan Gilbert, Castillo is Castillo. He's going to be great. Bryce Miller was great for them. It's really disappointing. Brian Wu that they called up has been very good.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing that an offense that looked like it was going to be so good before the season has really just been that bad in Seattle.
But yeah, that's also the thing that we can look at with all three of those disappointing teams, that the Mariners could turn it around as well. You never know, but I mean, I feel like the Padres and the Mets would have an easier chance when you look, just simply if you look at the standings. I mean, there's teams in the wild card spots right now that just you don't know are going to hold on. Like, I don't know. The Marlins have been really good this year. That's another really surprising team, but you don't know if they're going to hold on. Also, their records, like the Padres and Mets, even though with how bad their records are, they're not as far back as other teams are that would be not in a spot in the AL. So Mariners, I mean, they do have. I mean, they have the firepower. They could turn it around, but I feel like it's gonna be a lot more difficult, even though they have a better record in both the Mets and Padres. But yeah, it really depends on what all three of these teams do during the trade deadline. That we'll be able to make a better prediction to how they have a chance to come back and maybe get a wild card spot before the season ends.
And speaking of the Marlins, I want to give a quick shout out to Luis Reyes for hitting 388 right now. And Yuri Perez, who has been just sick for them as a 20-year-old starting pitcher. He has no business coming in and being that good outside of a bad start in Atlanta. But let's be honest, who doesn't have a bad start in Atlanta?
I know that was pretty bad, but
it was terrible.
Still, yeah.
But I can excuse that as 20 years old in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's good that we didn't finish this video without talking about Arias. I mean, just what he's done. I mean, if you compare him to guys like Ohtani and Acuna, I mean, he doesn't have those type numbers, but just hitting around 388. I mean, we've seen him hitting above 400 this year. And if the Marlins continue to do it and Arias continues to have his second half, I mean, you could see him hitting over 400, which would be insane. Because the last time we haven't seen that was Ted Williams. So I mean. Yeah, it's good we didn't end this without talking about him, because stuff he's doing is just something we haven't seen in a while. I mean, we knew he's a big, high average contact hitter, but this average is nothing we've seen in a while. We haven't seen high averages like this in a while. And there isn't many guys who are behind him. And we saw Seager with like a 340 recently,
Yeah.
but I mean, like he's had limited at bat. So, but like, yeah, I mean, Arai's doing something special. But any other final remarks?
Oddly enough, Ronald Acuna is second in MLB batting average at 337. So
yeah. So I mean, that's another reason why we picked him MVP.
Yes.
But yeah,
So that makes a lot of sense.
Or second to Ohtani. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's our first half. I mean, what an eventful 2023 first half, and all we're hoping is to continue for the second half. And as we get closer to the playoffs, it's gonna be a tough stretch because we have a lot of really good teams, a lot of surprising teams. So that's all we got for today. Make sure you subscribe and watch out for more content from both me and Blake. And that's all we got. See ya.